Well, welcome back to Retro Adventures. I'm Paul, and as promised, I'm going to give a review of my recent trip on the C&O Canal Towpath and the company that I went with. I'm going to give an honest review, in fact, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, enough of that. So I took this trip 2 weeks ago on Labor Day weekend. In fact, today is exactly 2 weeks of the third day of a 4-day odyssey on the C&O Canal Towpath. Now, we rode, like I said, on Labor Day 2025. And first, let me talk about the surface and how it was. Well, it was quite dry during our ride, so that helped a lot. I've seen and read some posts on other networks that when it rains, it gets really sloppy. So that was a real plus. But I have to be honest, some of this surface is very rough. You can see the trail here kind of looks like an old country road. Now, some of it is very smooth. It's very nice. I would say it is better even than the Katy Trail here in Missouri. But beware of some of the other areas. I started reading about this trail about 10 years ago and decided I really wanted to ride it. But back then, boy, some of the posts and information, people were saying, oh, it's terrible. Don't try to ride this. You're going to get flat tires. There's roots sticking up. And maybe it was that bad back in like 2012. But while it was rough in times, it wasn't nearly as bad as some of those posts that I read. The entire 184.5 miles is run by the National Parks Service. And so they're the ones that maintain the trail. They've done a lot of work in the last few years to try to get the surface better and better. And I think they're doing a very good job. But if someone asked me, well, what percentage was good, what percentage was rough, I would say about 50-50. There was a lot of bouncing around, to be sure. And there is one major detour right now. But very manageable, I think. Now let's talk about why you would maybe want to ride this towpath. Well, if you love history like I do, this is the towpath and the riding trail for you. First of all, if you like transportation history, you get to see all 174 locks in various degree of decay, and some of them have been refurbished and actually can be used by boats. Not too many, but there are a couple. It looks like we have a very nice restored lock right here. Don't know. And it's just fascinating, the engineering that took place back then and the history of it all. And also Civil War history all up and down this. There are signs and information. And Antietam National Battlefield is only 4 miles from the towpath. And that's something I really wanted to get to. I'd never been there. And on that day, that second day, I rode up to Antietam, got to see some of the sites. Couldn't ride the whole battlefield because that's like 9 miles. But I really, really am glad that I decided to do that. This is Bloody Lane. As well as walking in to Harper's Ferry. I'd never been there too. It just makes me want to go back, but having that little bit of taste was just great. The monument to John Brown. And another view of Harper's Ferry. Now, we had the most perfect weather to ride this trail. It never did, I don't think, get above, say, 82 degrees. We had low humidity, Now, if you decide to ride this trail next Labor Day, I can't guarantee that you're going to have the same weather. It could be hot as all get out. And the one thing I really thought about when I booked this trip, it's during hurricane season. What if a hurricane comes up the eastern seaboard and we ride in 4 days of pouring down rain? Well, thank goodness that did not happen, but it is a possibility at that time of year. So what kind of bicycle should you ride if you decide to take this trip? Well, probably a bike that has some fairly large tires is essential. I ride electric e-bike and it has those fat tires on them and it served me really well. Although I have to admit, I was very concerned about the possibility of getting a flat. And I don't think anybody got a flat in our group on the trip. So the first thing you have to decide is, am I going to do this individually or with a group? And if you decide to do it individually, research. But even if you're going with a group, I think research is a really good thing to do. If you decide to do this as a group trip, I did it with 2-wheel escapes. So that is a definite possibility. The owners of 2-wheel escapes are Greg and Rona Stocksdale. Greg is a retired police officer, and when he retired, he wanted to do something that would benefit other people. And so he started this company about 7 years ago. Greg is very knowledgeable about the trail. In fact, back in March, I called him up to just talk to him about this trip. And we talked for a half hour just about the trail. He wasn't trying to sell me on coming with his company. He said, if you decide to go, we'd love to have you. But he was passionate about giving information about it. Both Greg and Rona are so accommodating to everyone. Greg called me up 5 days before the trip to see if I had any questions, any concerns, especially dietary concerns. So if you have that sort of thing going on, if you're a vegetarian, gluten-free, they will accommodate, and the meals that they fix will work with you. So if you're interested in this company, they have a website, it's the number 2, wheelescapes.com, and they have all sorts of information about their upcoming trips, their shuttle services, and that will help you in making your decision. The trip was very well organized. The first day we met in Cumberland, Maryland at 8 in the morning. We loaded up our bikes, our supplies, got in the van and took a 2.5-hour drive to Washington, D.C. to start the journey. Now, my first thought was, why don't we start in Cumberland and end in Washington and be shuttled back? Well, there's a great reason for that, and that is traffic. The traffic once you approach D.C. is very horrendous, and Greg knew exactly where to go, what parking lot, how to park, and I totally understand why we started in D.C. now. Also, after a great lunch of sandwiches and other fixings, we got on our bikes and Greg led us to mile marker 0. Now, forever I've been reading about this and people complaining like, I can't find mile marker 0. So he knew how to get there, and that's where he started giving us information each day about our trip. He handed out a piece of paper that had the mile markers, what we could expect, and the different places we could look at and go into, and it was a great resource.
And we make stuff here. We want to send it out there and get those people to buy what we make.
And then there's quite a bit of construction going on the towpath in Washington, D.C. They're trying to rehab it, so to fix it up again. And so we had to take a little detour, so Greg took us through that a couple of miles before he said, okay, have fun. on your way. Here's where they're doing the new construction. It'll be open in maybe a couple years. They're also going to have canal boat rides through here. And that's the thing about this trip. Even though there is a group, and there were 13 of us in this group, we are individuals riding. We can take it at our own pace. We don't have to stay with the group. And I thought that was great. Now, we did have to get to our next destination before sundown, but that was never, ever a problem. Everybody made it before our first meal that night. That was our longest day, and we didn't get started until like 1 o'clock. So it worked out great, not just that day, but every day. This is a fully supported trip, which means they will carry all of your luggage, anything that you bring with you. In fact, when I talked to him before going, I said, you probably want me to limit it to 1 bag. And he said, oh, no, we don't care. Whatever you think you need on the trip, bring it. I'm a pretty light packer, so I guess I was easy on him. But again, that just shows how they are accommodating. You do carry your day bag with anything you need to change a flat tire and your water, of course. But it was light, and that was really nice, I thought. Let's talk about the meals. Oh, wow, they were fantastic.
The final product.
I'll tell you everything we ate, but what you get are 3 very filling, very good breakfasts and 3 dinners. They also provide snacks that you can take along with you. It's not like a SAG stop. You just fill up on snacks on that day and take it along. And I'll be honest, I did snack some, but the meals and the breakfast was so hearty, I didn't really have to eat much until supper. I was never hungry. I never went away hungry. Also, these are what they call green trips, which means they want to leave a very small carbon footprint. The very first night, we were given this bag, and we had a plate to put in the bag after we ate. Now, we also washed our own utensils in our plate, used real silverware, and they gave us this cup for our drinking, and souvenir cup. And I thought that's a great idea. So we would put it in the crate that night, and then the next morning we'd pull it out. Everybody had their own. And the only waste we had were like napkins and also something like coffee filters, which is very biodegradable. In fact, the coffee, instead of making a big pot of coffee and you might have some waste or you may not have enough, everybody had their own individual small filter that you would put on top of your coffee cup. Of course, you have a paper filter in it. They had coffee grounds. You would put the coffee grounds in, and then you would have the hot water, boiling water, and you could pour it in, and you could make the coffee whatever strength you wanted. And I thought that was very ingenious, very, very little waste. If you have any other questions about the trip, just put it in the comments below, and I'll answer it the best that I can. But you're probably asking, okay, what's the cost of this trip? So for a fully supported 4-day trip, it's $800. At least it was this year. I can't guarantee it won't go up next year because inflation is a thing, and you'll just have to see by looking at their website. Now, your first reaction might be, $800, that's a lot for camping. And that's what we did. We camped every night. But if you go on the Bike Can Do and you look up all the places that you can eat and stay, and you add all those costs, plus a shuttle or some transportation, unless you're going to ride all the way up and all the way back. But then again, you're going to have to pay for everything coming back. There is the Amtrak option, which people say various degrees of being good or bad. But I thought it was a very good price point, and I was very pleased. I thought it was a bargain, honestly. Now, another thing I did the rent a tent option. Now, I do have a small tent. If you watched my Katy trail trip videos, I used it, but I pulled it out before this trip and it was in really bad shape. And I don't do a lot of tent camping, and I didn't want to try to find another tent to buy. So they give you that option. It is $200. Again, you might be saying, $200 to rent a tent? Now, think about it. It's 3 nights. And this is what they do. They set that tent up for you every night. It's a very nice tent. And they take it down the next day. This is what I slept in last night. And if this tent looks very similar to these tents, that's because I decided to rent a tent. Now, after riding 50 miles, the last thing I wanted to do is have to put up a tent. They give you an air mattress, they air it up for you. And the first night, they made our bed with the flannel sheets. And it was cool enough on our trip that we were also given a sleeping bag. I did bring my own pillow, but they will provide a pillow if you need it. Now, other people brought their tents and they set them up. That worked for them. But for me, I was very pleased with what I paid for. And then at the end of the journey, as we pulled into Cumberland, they gave us this nice sticker also, which is, this is their symbol. This is their emblem. So I told you I would tell about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, here goes the bad part of the trip. I got nothing. And I'm not just saying that. I thought it was a great trip. Everything was wonderful, and nothing was bad. So if you are interested in this trip, again, do your research, check out Two Wheel Escapes, and if you decide to go with them, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I certainly was not. So thank you for watching this review video of the C&O Canal Towpath. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for future content. Tell all your friends. And in the meantime, have yourself a retro adventure.